And welcome back to the Over 40s Fitness Podcast. My name's Tristan Lowe, and here we are today, mid-July 2024. And if my memory serves me right, and it normally does, this is episode 61. What's special about today? Nothing. Maybe not for you, but for me, yeah, look at this. I've got a new toy. I've actually had this microphone for a while, and it's been stashed upstairs in my office at work. And finally, after playing around with it for a bit, I thought, okay, let's get it out. Let's use the software, use the hardware. And for those of you technical wizards around there, those that use podcast channels at a much higher level, and you'll probably look at it and say, Tristan, the microphone's in the wrong place, or Tristan, I don't know, it shouldn't be in front of you, it should be to the side. But for today, doesn't matter. I'm going to improve each week, and I hope you'll stay with me for the journey. All right, it's Tuesday evening, work's done, training's done, good nutrition's done, all the boring stuff. I say boring to some people, not to me. And now it's time to do my last thing before I hit the sack. And that's to talk about something. Yesterday, I had an electrician come round to put a new circuit breaker in the trip switch board, at my house. And all he did, it took him no more than 10 minutes to figure things out, what went where, and he had a small space to squeeze into. The guy was only about 5'10", but the space that he had to squeeze into to get himself in to check out the trip switch board, I could get into it, but I'm 6'4", and it was a lot harder for me, but he was a bit easier for him. This guy was about mid-40s, and he looked in pretty good shape because we talked about fitness once he'd done the electrics for me. All right, now, they got me thinking. Now, that guy was approximately mid-40s, 45 years of age, family man, had a missus and kids and whatnot, and he told me that he used to do motocross and something like that, and got a head injury, stopped doing motocross, and concentrated on a profession and becoming a qualified electrician of some degree. Went about his way, paid him, job done. And I thought, okay, well, let's look at that. That is a manual labour profession. You know, electrician, you're using some form of manual labour. All right, you're climbing through hatches in lofts, you're going underneath people's stairs, getting underneath cupboards, squeezing into small spaces. You're not spending all day in a big open room just wiring up 240-volt sockets. I think that would be quite boring for a qualified Sparky as well. So I would say that it left me with a train of thought. What if that guy was the norm? What if he was the normal 45-year-old man from Middle England and he was overweight, dad bod, you know, double XL t-shirts, big waistline, poor cardiovascular fitness? Because he told me him and his girlfriend go for long walks as well to keep himself cardiovascular fit. But that's not the norm. I bet if I went up and down the country and we did a poll looking at electricians, just electricians in their mid-40s, 99.9%, I imagine they're going to be men. All right, and not women. There might be one or two women out there, but for us, we're talking about this now. Okay, right, so I would think it's not the norm for that person to lift weights, go swimming, work out and ride motorbikes as well. I would think it's norm for an electrician that's only 4 years and change from tapping on the door of the big 5-0 would be out of shape, poor flexibility, poor mobility, overweight, you know, and the only reason that he can keep doing his job is because he knows what to do. The muscle memory there, the knowledge of that highly skilled job to be an electrician is still there. He can still get out of bed, brush his teeth, go to work, do his job as a Sparky on contracts, house bashing, big jobs like that, fine. But there'll become a time when his body will actually curtail his profession earlier than he planned. Now, someone might want to retire at 55, but if you've got a skill like that and you can earn good money, why not keep working until you're 70, 75? You could work 1-2 days a week on a highly paid job, earning, I don't know, anything up to £200 a day, or if not more, depending on what the nature of the job, and if you're working away from home, even more. Now, it's highly probable that manual labour, from electricians to plasterers to plumbers, you know, to joiners, painters, brickies, house bashers, house builders, there'd be a very interesting stat to look at the NHS, both NHS and private reports on the amount of manual labour men from the age of mid-40s onwards who've had to stop working or significantly reduced their working hours or days because of repetitive strain injury, RSI, repetitive strain injury, work-related injuries, musculoskeletal injuries, okay? On top of any weight issue they've got. Because this may be something from the 70s and certainly 80s, and it probably still runs through now. And that's to finish work early on a Friday and go straight down the pub. Straight to the pub, straight to the bar, or straight to the bookies if they're really stupid. All right, so I would say there's a high probability then that those people that do that manual labour. I had a plasterer do work for me about 20 years ago on a house that I owned in Nottinghamshire. And at the time, I don't know, I'd have been about 31. I think he was about 33, 34 from Doncaster. And I distinctly remember him telling me that plasterers, or for those in the USA, drywallers, they suffer from shoulder injuries and neck injuries. And I think this guy, if memory serves me right, I think he actually came from a boxing background because he knew his stuff on boxing. And I'm sure he told me that when he was younger, he used to box. But of course, work comes and you stop boxing. You've got to get on with your work, plastering people's houses. That's what he told me. Darren, his name was. He said that you're always wet because you're always in a house, 6 days a week, and you're wet morning, day and night, and it's horrible in winter. And he told me that you get neck injuries, shoulder injuries, and I don't remember exactly, something to do with elbows and hands, I don't know. Could be golfer's elbow, tennis elbow, or plasterer's elbow, or drywaller's elbow. Now, what's the odds of that guy who's in his early to mid-30s plastering with those repetitive strain injuries still working 20-something years later, still plastering at 60? Be very interesting to know. And if I still had his number, I'd ring him up and ask him, but I haven't. Now, had he spent time and gone to a massage therapist once a month or twice a month when he's in an acute phase of an injury, but if you've got chronic injury, once a month, and paid, at the time it would have been £20, £25, a bit more now, or gone and seen a physiotherapist once a month, a sports massage therapist, a sports therapist, or a physiotherapist. If it's spinal, maybe a chiropractor or acupuncturist if he wants to try holistic, or the self-care of cold baths, hot baths, cryotherapy, taking the proper supplements, going to do Pilates or yoga or being stretched, and of course the obvious one being strength work as well. If a drywaller or a plasterer put that into their weekly or daily routine, and even made it part of their business, because if you work in manual labour, it's not just your brain, it's your body that is your business. I'm a professional personal trainer and a qualified sports massage therapist, so my body, on top of my brain and my knowledge and my experience, is part of what I do. It's, for want of a better word, it's symbiotic. Everything has to work together for myself to perform my duties to the best of my ability. And it's never perfect. It's always good, sometimes very good, but never perfect. All right, now, which brings me to the title of today's video. You're not fit to work. Yeah, and that doesn't mean you're not fit to go out and get work or go sit for an interview. It means you are going to make yourself unfit to continue delivering your own profession that you've studied for and done an apprenticeship for and got a degree or a diploma, and then done your work experience and then gone to work, for low money, good money, hopefully one day very good money. That can be stopped really short. And I'm not talking a serious injury like a fall, like the construction workers, if they take a fall and they get spinal injuries or they get compound breaks of the femur or the hip, something like that. No, I'm talking a long-term repetitive strain or chronic injury that over a space of time, if left unchecked, like a lot of things in life, becomes a serious issue. And then of course you get those secondary and tertiary complaints in the body. If your shoulder's out of line, your neck's going to be out of line, your lower back, if your hip's out of line, it's going to show not just at the hip joint, but it's going to show at the knee or the foot, and therefore you're going to walk with a poor gait. So take into account, gents and ladies, for those that work in manual labour, it's not just your body, because you could have passed the highest qualification in your chosen field, and on yesterday's occasion it was an electrician. And you could have the highest quality diploma, degree, apprenticeship, city and guilds, whatever you want to call it. You could have a master's in joinery or something like that. But your customer doesn't care. The person in the house, the person in the school, the person at home or the workplace, they actually don't care. They want to know that you're qualified. They can do some research. What they care is your ability, is your availability. Yep. It's no point telling them on your website and on the phone when they ring up for a quote what ability you've got if you're injured and you're not available. The best ability is availability, and your availability diminishes if you let your body slide, Mr. Labourer or Mrs. Labourer, yeah? If you're an electrician, a sparky, and you work with anything between 24 volt, 48 volt, 110 volt, where does it go? 240 volt, 380, 415 and higher. When you get from single phase to three phase, I'm showing what 1% knowledge I've got of electrics, which is next to nothing anyhow. I would say look after your body, otherwise you're not fit to work. The other day we touched on a different subject, that men aren't fit enough to date. There's also men aren't fit enough to work, and it's not because they don't know what to do, and it's not because they're too old or what year they're born. It's because you've let your body go. So my advice to you is to get yourself to the gym and go and lift weights once, if not twice a week. Learn how to stretch your body. If not, book yourself in with a therapist, a soft tissue therapist, a physiotherapist, and get your body ironed out, cracked out. If you go to chiropractors, release some tension in the spine and look after your body. And if you've got to charge it to your business, then do so. Check with your accountant and do that, because it's part of your trade to actually look after yourself. Otherwise, you're not fit to work. All right, this is a short one today, just a 10-minute job whilst I'm testing out my new toy. When this video plays back, I'm not exactly certain what it's going to sound like. I've tested it once or twice. So if you can watch it on YouTube, or if you're listening on Amazon or Spotify or Apple Podcast, tell me, give me some feedback, and I'll refine it. I'm going to spend some time with a colleague of mine this week. She knows more about this stuff than I do, or I think she does. And we'll look at it and try and improve it. And in the meantime, my name's Tristan Lowe. It's the Over 40s Fitness Podcast. Today's subject, being fit for work, making sure that you are physiologically able to continue your profession and still work if you want to work when you're 70, 75 and earn good money. You don't have to stop working at 55, 60 just because the government wants you to. If you've got a skill and people are willing to pay their hard-earned money for your skill, your trade, your services, take that into account. Don't just rely on your pension. Don't just rely on your house price or house value going up. Rely on your skill and give yourself that longevity to do it. You can always change career and go and work and pull a pint for a living, or go and work in a coffee shop, or go and work in a library, but you don't want to, and we know that. So, all right, catch me on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. It's Tristan Lowe, Over 40s Fitness Podcast. Thanks for watching and listening, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.